Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 84 of Swiss Army Sports. Today is August 25th in the Big 26. I'm your host, Will Spain, former long snapper for the Troy Trojans, Austin Peay Governors, and partially Houston Cougars, joined virtually from Hotlanta, Georgia, at near the campus of Georgia Tech. Current nephew of Georgia Tech men's basketball coach Scott Cross, current graduate student at Georgia Tech University, and former kicker for the Houston Christian Huskies and Troy Trojans, Chase Cross, representing Man United. We'll get into that. A lot of good Prim ball, man. Just warms my heart that the Prim is back. I'm gonna be way better about following it this year now that I have an actual Prim team. Wickham, I'll touch on them real quick. Back-to-back draws, man. It's last year all over again. I mean, yeah, 1 point is great, but doesn't get you promoted. Keeps us from getting relegated, but we're just stuck in that League One kind of lull. EPL Week 1 results. We're going to talk about our picks. We're going to talk about the games. A lot to talk about. And there's a reason why the agenda is so short. Me and Chase are about to we're going to talk about a lot about a little. It's going to be it's a G6 football preview episode. So if you are interested in the G6 football conferences, like Memphis, like Troy, like North Dakota State,
Kennesaw State.
Yeah, Kennesaw State. Tune in for this episode. We also have a little MLB playoff race talk. I believe that's actually before the G6 football preview. And then best things that happened this weekend. Let's get right into it. Chaser, EPL match week 1 picks recap. We started off on Friday, and the former champs. Well, I don't want to buy too much into it because it's Coventry without Haji Wright. But it was 3-0 for the Gunners against Coventry City. And again, the reason I don't want to like fully buy into the text that me and you were talking about this game, and I don't want to fully buy into it yet, is just because of the quality of the opponent. We all three got this pick right, and Arsenal did completely dominate this game, 20 shots to 4. 64-36 in possession, although possession doesn't tell the whole story. What did you take away from Arsenal Coventry? I didn't get to watch the game. I just kind of scoreboard watched.
I got to watch this one. Unfortunately for Coventry, Arsenal just looks like the most complete team in the Prem. And I know it's early. It's too early to tell what's going to happen in the title race. But, man, at all 3 levels, Arsenal just looked fantastic. David Araya wasn't really even tested. But the defense looked strong and solid even without Saliba. I mean, I thought Calafiore was great. Gabriel still led the Lions well. I mean, they looked great back there. The midfield was fantastic. Really kind of bossed the midfield. I really liked Lewis Skelly in this game. And then going forward, the new signing Tizolis looked really good. Havertz looked good. Saka looked good. And, of course, Declan Rice played his butt off again. I mean, this is a completely loaded Arsenal team. Bruno G just unlocks that midfield, I believe, just allowing, a lot more creativity in there. And I think this Arsenal team is really, they have a ton of depth. If you look at what they were able to bring on the pitch, like as subs, it's like, it's unreal. From a Coventry aspect, first game away at the Emirates.
It's a tough,
not a bad result.
Such a tough draw, dude. If you're Coventry,
tough draw, but
you're missing your best attacker,
threatened.
and it just
and they threatened. They played hard, so I can't really diss Coventry. But of course, we're gonna have to speak on the next game here, which I'm not too thrilled about.
Yeah, I was thrilled about the next game, even though we were all wrong on the picks. The Red Devils get mauled by the Tigers, 2-0 in Hull. The train gets canceled back to Manchester. They are stuck in that shitty city of Hull, and the Tigers go on 3 points. Man United, none, which what a start to your Saturday, a 2-0 victory for Hull. I mean, in all retrospect of the game, Man United was the better team. I mean, 21 shots to 8, 41 touches in the opposition box to 11. However, Hull did what Man United couldn't do and capitalized on their opportunities, put 2 in the back of the net, won 2-0, and are off running in their Premier League campaign. I do want to touch on the whole home environment. While not as glorious as Newcastle's, which you have to admit, our home environment is absolutely
best I've seen this season.
And I'll get into that because man, we give rats a hard time and into the tune. But Hull City, they were able to get it done. They were able to hold off Man United, and then they are up on 3 points. I'm sure you want to talk more about how Man United played in this game as a Reds fan. So, what happened in Hull versus Man U?
Well, can't lie, I did wake up at the crack of dawn to watch this. Honest takeaways from it. I think my initial reaction watching the game, like I'm thinking in my head, oh, the season's finished. Then I watched it back, watched the highlights, watched parts of the game back, and it was not as bad as I thought. Maybe I wasn't locked in as early. It was 6:30 our time when we're watching it, so I wasn't as locked in. But watching it back, I thought we were the better team. And we had a lot of opportunities that we just didn't finish. And Bumo had two or three that probably could have gone in. You got to give Hull credit. I mean, they capitalized on set pieces, and our marking against set pieces was kind of shambolic, to be honest. I think we do have to fix something. We've been pretty much outclassed in our last three games. Teams with a five back have really been giving us trouble. That being AC Milan, Leeds, and now Hull City, who went from a four back to a five back. So that is something to look out for in the future, but I am excited about the new transfer, Carlos Baleba. So I'm not too worried for the Reds yet.
Moving on now to Nottingham Forest versus Leeds. Leeds Nets won late in the 88th minute by Stotch to get the 1-0 dub. I kind of thought this was going exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be a
Yeah.
1-1 draw. 0-0 was definitely in the realm of possibility. And I did pick that, but you and Luke were on the right side of things here. Picked Leeds. They net one in the 88th, and they're on 3 points. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of predicted both these teams to finish bottom third of the table, and I kind of got the gist from this game as well. Sloppy football from both.
Sloppy football, yes. I do think Leeds has some quality. They look pretty good in the League Cup today too. I like this Leeds squad. They play with passion, and I think Daniel Farker's done a really good job constructing the squad going into this season. I think Harry Wilson makes a very big difference, and Dan James has he's been with Leeds for a while, but he's still playing well, and the American lad Brendan Ariston's still doing his job. So I like this Leeds team. Honestly, I think that this is probably the best team that they've had since they had Rafinha. So I like this Leeds team. But I do
Everton. Oh,
think
go ahead.
that
Sorry.
well, no, I was just gonna say I agree with you. I think it was a sloppy game of football. I think that's kind of the style that Nottingham Forest is gonna play all season. Definitely should have been 1-1. Not Igor Thiago, Igor Jesus, I thought missed a couple opportunities. So we'll see what happens with this Forest team. But they did just sign Liam Delap, so I think that was probably a direct like response to this game. So we'll see what happens for Forest.
100% Everton took care of business against Crystal Palace, netting one in the 42nd and the 53rd. Palace controlled the first 20 minutes of this game
Yeah,
and completely kind of fell apart. Um, I did think Palace was going to struggle this year.
I do too.
I don't think they
Unfortunately,
necessarily struggled. Well, they did definitely in the second half. I mean, they just couldn't get anything going. But I mean, I thought Everton was due for a really strong year. For their standards, not necessarily Europe, but top half of the table. And I think this was a really good start
Mhm.
for them, especially against, yes, not the strongest opponent, but a formidable opponent in Palace. What you take away from Everton and Crystal Palace?
Honestly, I thought Everton looked really good. I think this Everton side showed a lot of promise last season, finishing top half. I think that they're trending in that direction again. And I think Crystal Palace just got absolutely ravaged by the transfer window, and they're gonna have to really fight to stay up this season. They still have talent in this squad, and I don't necessarily think that the first game of the season defines the season. As you know, we've seen if you look at the results across the board, there's a lot of shocking fixtures that I guarantee some of these teams you won't even remember that at the end of the season. But right now, definitely some cause for concern for Crystal Palace.
Well, me and Luke were on Spurs. You were on a draw, and we could not have been more wrong. Brentford, the Bees, absolutely dominate Spurs 3-0. I mean, there were holes all across the board for Spurs. Tonali plays absolutely horrible. Van Heck, not great. Uh, Bergval, I mean, directly gave up a goal. I mean, they rated the goalkeeper 6.9. I thought Kinski played about as good as he could. Richarlison was terrible. I mean, this Spurs team was atrocious, both up front and especially especially on the right side of their back line. Gray atrocious as well. Tenali was terrible in this. I mean, the center mid. It literally could not have been a worse match week one for Spurs, a team that was a pretty popular pick to have a really good bounce back year and potentially go to Europe. Um, it seems like they're heading right back to 17th place, Chase. And unless we see some drastic changes, it's going to be a very long year for Spurs fans.
It's again, like we said with United. I think this Spurs team they spent big this summer, and the guys have to gel. They clearly have not gelled yet. And I think bringing in Marmoush and Savinho is going to reignite this attack. It didn't look like that in the teeth in the attack, but Brentford looked great, honestly, especially with a game by Igor Thiago that wasn't at his standards. Brentford just looked absolutely electric. I love this Brentford side, and they're a team that I was high on. That I think I had them in seventh or eighth, potentially making Europe. So this was not a surprise to me necessarily. I just thought Spurs would have a better opening game, which they did not. So, more power to Brentford. I think Tottenham will be fine. De Zerbi's a good coach. They'll figure something out towards the end of the season. But right now, they're just going to have to lick their bruises a little bit and roll with these growing pains.
Shocking result, at least in my opinion. Me and you both had Sunderland in this one. And now, don't get me wrong, I always love to see Sunderland fall on their face. But Ed Sheeran's Ipswich Town, they come up from the championship and they get a two. So, by the way, championship promoted teams went 2-1 this weekend, which is very, tip of the cap to the levels
Shocking.
in the championship right now. Luke had a draw here. We were all wrong. Ipswich Town wins 2-1 on an absolute banger of a goal late in the 90th minute by Mr. Jack Clark. Ipswich Town was a better team. Point blank. Period.
Yep.
They outplayed Sunderland, and again, I think this is just drawing towards. I mean, not great for teams like us, Newcastle, Man United, who are really going to need to have some low level opponents to just guarantee 3 points because of how top heavy this league is. But I mean, the parity in this league is shaping up to be quite astounding, NHL like almost. And I do love to see parity across the league. Congrats to Ipswich Town. What'd you take away?
Ipswich Town looked great. They were actually a team that I was kind of predicting to struggle out of everybody. I thought Hull, just because of the Hull fans, first time being in the Prem in a while, they were going to be juiced, but I didn't see this coming from Ipswich, and they really played well. I mean, I've been outside of Coventry. I mean, the other two newly promoted teams looked great this weekend. I can't lie. Not cause for concern for Sunderland. I think Sunderland will be all right. They'll still be mid-table, but I agree. I mean, that this is why they say this is the best league in the world. Will like maybe the top end teams are not better than your Barcelonas, your Bayern Munich's, your PSG's, your Real Madrid's, but the parity across the league. That's why you've seen English teams win the Europa League and the Conference League back-to-back seasons. That's why you see all these things happening because of how deep the league is and how talented some of these mid-table teams are. So that's the beautiful thing about the Prem is that anyone can win on any week, especially this season. I don't think that we'll have many teams like Wolves were last season. So I was very impressed with what I saw from Ipswich.
Speaking about being impressed, Brighton absolutely just dogged the hell out of Villa, a Villa team that I was decently high on coming into the year. They net four before the third by the 31st minute. Villa gets a red card on the 40th and no action from that point on. Brighton kind of sits back, lets the game flow, and I mean they had plenty of chances, just couldn't net another one. Um, I, I'm shocked. I'm at a loss for words. Luke hit it right on the head, though. He had Brighton. You had a draw. I went with Villa. Uh, it, you almost just got to throw this one out. Just by the
Yeah,
way it
you do.
played out. I mean, all credit to Brighton. Don't get me wrong, but if you're Villa, I mean, I think the way Spurs lost was honestly worse than the way Villa lost because the way Villa lost, it just unraveled so quickly. There was no chance of getting it back. Spurs, it was just like, man, they got stabbed and they kind of just like slowly bled out for 90 minutes. What'd you take away from Brighton Villa?
I agree with you. You kind of have to throw this out, and I anticipated that Villa was going to struggle early on. Ollie Watkins is out the door. They lost so many guys through the transfer window, and Brighton has always been a team that's going to play a very attractive style of football, and so I think honestly, like I probably should have gone with Brighton in this match. Now 4-0. never expected 4-0. If I'm being completely honest, that was shocking. But Villa's got some work to do. This is still a talented group, but I mean, Unai Emery is going to really have to build and get in his bag on this one because they're in a tricky spot, especially from a squad building perspective.
100%. Moving on now, Manchester City. Oh man, Bournemouth. They had it. They had it. I mean, they were outplayed for. I mean, every aspect of this game except from like the 25th to the 29th minute, that little stretch where Bournemouth had all the momentum and netted that first goal.
Yep.
But I mean, kind of in Argentinian World Cup fashion, the better team prevailed at the end. That's too late, and Man City are on 3 points. We were all on Man City. Takeaways from this, I take away that Bournemouth's back line held up really damn well against a
Really
very
well.
powerful team.
Really well, and I do think Manchester City's just a little shaky this year. I don't necessarily trust this midfield very much. I don't love Maresca's tactics now. If they land Enzo Fernandez with the youngster they just purchased, I think that this City team will be revitalized. But they've spent so much money. This team just doesn't scare me like it has in years past. They're clearly missing Rodri, so I think there's going to be some growing pains there too. But it was nice to see City get the win in the end.
Talk about Castle. Man, the Gordies had this one. I sat on the couch for about 10 minutes in silence. I went to church on Saturday for this game. Woke up, watched it. Luke hit the head. Luke nailed it. Picked the draw. Which is nuts. I don't know how the hell he does this. I have Newcastle, of course. I will never pick against them. Chase had Liverpool, as he wanted to hate on the Gordies. But let's
Not
talk.
even.
I know I'm trolling. We played the exact brand of football we needed to play to win this game, and we're gonna
And
have to
outplayed,
play.
honestly, you want my honest opinion? Outplayed Liverpool. I
I
mean,
agree. I
the
would say on
atmosphere was
par.
great.
The atmosphere,
On par.
the atmosphere was what carried, I believe, a majority. But I mean, yeah, I will say we outplayed them. I mean, we kind of basically dictated how this game went. I mean, there were spurts where Liverpool was just, I mean, hampering down in our box, and I thought, man, this is where we're going to give one up here. We're going to give one up here, but the back line stood strong. I want to give a couple shout outs to some guys. Juan Wiesa absolutely stood up as
Baller.
that 10, a false 10. Asula played well. Alanga, baby, getting that goal. Hall, adding to some transfer value potentially. Hope he
Featuring
stays.
United.
Hornacek played well in goal. He had some absolutely spectacular saves. I would like to, how could I forget? So sorry. Lewis Miley, man, 20 years old. I mean, just played out of his mind as a defensive mid. I was, even though I'm going to go ahead and say it was a bullshit penalty. Because, I mean, yeah, I can see why it was called a penalty. I don't think we should have ever been in that point. They were in their own third when it was 90 plus 5, and that was the
Yeah.
amount of time shown. And then they just kind of like threw it out there. It took a bounce, it basically it just typically how a team I root for would lose. Or
Yes.
draw. I
Yes.
mean, it is like to a
Very
T.
emblematic of a Will Spain
I
team
mean,
there.
it was like, are you serious? Of course. Like, of course they did. Um, Alexander, Isak's a bitch. All right, Alexander Isak's a bitch, and he didn't want to take the penalty, and I love it. And we were giving him a hell of a time. Absolutely banger atmosphere. What you take away from the Gordies and Liverpool?
Well, Newcastle is a lot better than what I thought they were going to be. And that's just because of the amount of players Newcastle lost. When you talk about Bruno G, Sandro Tonali, I mean, it just the list goes on and on with Anthony Gordon looking great for Barcelona this week. I mean, it just the list goes on and on about the players moved off from Newcastle. But you know what? Some of the other guys that were a little bit more role players last year really stepped up. I mean, I thought, like you said, Osula was fantastic. I thought Alanga was fantastic. Alanga's had a real rocky season last year. So, there's a lot of cause for positivity. Now, looking at the Liverpool side of things, Isak and Florian Wirtz, I mean, you think about the money these guys got spent on, and they don't get bantered at all. There's nothing that comes out against them. And I know Wirtz is young, but it's just shocking to see some of the stuff that, like, the conversations that come out about these guys because you think about they were a combined 300 million and they haven't produced whatsoever. Ghost after ghost after ghost. So from that perspective, I mean, think fair 2-2 is probably the fair result for that game. I think Newcastle will probably feel like they should have walked away with more. Liverpool's going to be a little bit disappointed. Liverpool's going to have to spin. They're going to have to bring in some more players because this is not going to be good enough for them. And I think that can be said for Liverpool, for Manchester United, Man City, Tottenham, and even Chelsea. Like I think all the big six squads outside of Arsenal, if they even want to challenge with Arsenal this season, they're going to have to spend a little bit more. And that goes across everybody in the Prem, Aston Villa, Newcastle, like teams that can spend money to even give Arsenal a run for their money, they're going to have to spend because it's not going to be very close from what I saw from the opening weekend.
There is some transfer news surrounding Newcastle right now, as I will, I guess, talk about my team for a second. And I believe I sent them to you, and even Michael decided to mention it. I heard I mean, Nico Gonzalez is gonna be heading to Newcastle. It seems from Man
Big,
City,
big time.
which is going to be a huge ordeal for
It's kind of a
Castle.
shock that City parted with Nico Gonzalez, considering their midfield is pretty thin. But I think it's a fantastic pickup for Newcastle.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled about that, and I believe we had rumors regarding an American Chase potentially heading to
Yep.
Newcastle.
Tyler Adams potentially could be heading to the Gordies as well. So there's some legs with that. Anthony Robinson's in talks with Manchester United too. I thought he was actually fantastic in this last game. We got to talk about Chelsea Fulham. This
We
was
do
my game of the week.
hundred
Absolute
percent.
banger.
First off, I
First
want
off,
to
we gotta
I
talk
gotta
about
let you know.
Chelsea before we get to Fulham.
I gotta let you know
What are you
though.
gonna say?
There's not a better game for the producer to have been baptized to his team than this one. I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh,
it was an
fantastic.
absolute banger, home atmosphere for Fulham. He found out what we all knew, that Fulham has
Craven
the
Cottage was
absolute
rocking.
nicest fans in the EPL in terms of how they treat their team after a loss. But yeah, I'll let you take the floor because I didn't really get to catch this game. 3-2 for Chelsea over Fulham. What did you take away first from the Blues and then from Fulham?
Well, so we're in syllabus week, for my business masters right now. So of course I'm tuned into the Premier League. Like I'm not listening to Dr. J. I couldn't even say his last name. I'm sitting here watching the glorious game that was Chelsea versus Fulham. Honestly, Chelsea got off to such a fast start. Cole Palmer assists 35 seconds into João Pedro. Unreal finish by João Pedro. So much composure. Fulham I thought Fulham actually played Chelsea really well. They just got caught out a ton of times. In the game got a little bit hotter, piped up. Fulham scored. Then Chelsea scored right out of halftime, and I believe they scored again, and then Gonzalo Garcia scored for Fulham, and it was just a crazy finish to the end of this game. Honestly, I thought Morgan Rogers looked great for Chelsea in his debut. Cole Palmer looked like the Cole Palmer of old. He's got something to prove after being left off the England roster. And then João Pedro was great. Outside of those three players, though, I think Chelsea is going to have a lot of issues. Reece James looked solid for the most part, but they just seem really weak in the midfield, especially if Enzo Fernandez is gone. Moses Caicedo picked up a knock. The center backs are really weak, and I'm not so sure about Robert Sanchez. And you saw Fulham kind of expose them at times. And in terms of Arvelo Arbeloa's side, I thought he played some beautiful attacking football. This Fulham side really went after Chelsea now with some great runs from their outside backs. Now the cover was not great. They did get exposed a couple times on the counter and got caught out where we saw two of the goals come from. And I think that's something that will have to be addressed. But I loved the style of football that was played. I thought Anthony Robinson was fantastic in this game, was unreal, was giving Chelsea so many problems on that left side. Gonzalo Garcia, I think, will bag 10 goals for Fulham in his debut season. I really think that this Fulham side is going to kind of overachieve compared to what everybody else
Yeah.
thinks, going into the season. This was a team that everybody thought was going to get relegated. So I think my initial reactions, Manchester United isn't going to be as good as I thought they were. Tottenham's not going to be as good as I thought they were. Man City is going to take a step back. Liverpool's not going to be as good as I thought they were. Chelsea's going to be better than I thought they were. And I think Fulham will stay up, and I think Newcastle will stay up pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of sold on Fulham. Obviously, if they lose Robinson, it's going to be a tough one for them in terms of staying competitive. But I mean, I saw enough in terms of their tactics, where I think this team is going to be able to do enough to stay up. However, I mean, you got to look at Ipswich and Hull both winning. I mean, it's going to get really tight towards the bottom at the end of the season. I can already predict. But let's get into our EPL picks leaderboard. Luke leads it, of course, 7-3. Me and Chase both went
Ah,
4-6, so off to a stellar start. Talking baseball now, we head to the AL, the playoff race. The Rays are somewhat comfortably in first place, 3.5 games up of the Yankees now. The White
on a bad
Sox,
little stretch though.
yeah, a little bad little stretch, but they'll, I feel, persevere. The White Sox up 4.5 games on the Twinnies. I'm sorry, they're with the Guardians. They're only up 2.5 games on the Guardians, who have finally made it to 500. And the Rangers are up, and as we anticipated, this could happen. Half a game on the Stros. In the wild card, the Yankees sit in first, 9 games up. The Red Sox in second, 6.5 games up. The cut line are the Guardians at 500. The Astros are half a game back. All 2 games back are the Twins and Blue Jays. 2.5 for the Orioles, 3 for the Mariners. Chase, any change in prediction for what you see could happen? I still have it Tampa, Chicago, Texas, New York, Boston, and I am holding strong that Toronto somehow is going to get in.
Well, I was big. I thought the Astros, with the season Jordan's having, I thought the Astros were for sure going to win the division. So that was different than my pick. They have really struggled as of late, and Texas has been playing better. So I do think I agree with you. I think it's going to be Tampa, Chicago, Texas, New York, and Boston are locks. And I agree. I think Toronto, they really just haven't caught fire, but I think Toronto will either do it, and if not, it's going to be the Astros. The Astros are right there, half a game out. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think that, it's really, I don't think the Twins or the Guardians really
Yeah,
have a
I'm not
stronghold
sold.
on that spot.
I'm not
So
sold on
I
the
think it'll be
Guardians at
the
all.
Astros or the Blue Jays
Not sold on the
or
Guardians
the
at all.
Rangers because it's all
Um,
so clustered right
Yeah,
there.
it is. It is so clustered. Speaking of clustered, let's talk about the NL. The Brewers hold strong in the Central, up 5.5 games on the Cubbies. The Dodgers are up an astounding 9.5 games on the Padres, and the Bravos are up only 3 to the Philadelphia Phillies. That number has diminished over the past 2 weeks. The
Incredibly.
Bravos are 3-7 over their last 10. The Phillies are 9-1. We saw. I mean, we literally said that some type of this would be the run that would have to happen. Like Atlanta would have to fall off the face of the earth, and Philadelphia would have to catch on fire.
And that's what's
Unfortunately
happening.
for Atlanta, that is what is happening right now. The Phillies are seemingly untouchable at the moment. In terms of the wild card, the Cubbies are in a safe 5 games up. The Phillies have kind of cemented themselves as the team that I think is going to make the wild card. 2 games up. The Padres are the cut line. Diamondbacks 2 games back. Marlins 4. Cardinals 5.
And the Cardinals are down 13-1 right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of shipping it down for the Cardinals this season. I mean, which is, God, I don't want to. I just love Cardinals baseball in October. Looks like I'm going to put all my chips in on the Rays, though. Yeah, I don't see the playoff picture changing at all, except I actually do think Atlanta's going to end up being the second wild card team. I think Philadelphia will eventually overtake, and I do think the Cubbies will actually hold the first wild card spot. What do you see? And of course, unfortunately, I think the Padres are going to make the playoffs. How do you see it
Yep.
going?
Well, the two hottest teams in baseball right now are currently fifth and sixth in the wild card in the NL right now. Padres being 21-7 in their last 28 games. The Phillies, 9-1 in their last 10, absolutely on fire. Both teams have been raking. Stars are finally showing up for teams that were pretty inconsistent all year, but when October rolls around, these big players are going to step up, and that's what we're seeing with the Pods and the Phillies. So I think honestly, this may be a crazy take. I think the Phillies for sure jumped the Braves. And would I be crazy to say that, you know, maybe the Padres jumped the Braves? Is that too much of a gap
Yeah,
just
I
with how the
think
Braves have been playing? It might be too much of a gap, but I
it's
definitely
gonna be
think
close.
that
It's not.
it's
It's
going to
not
be
too much of a
close.
gap to where it's gonna be close. Like I can't call you like that's can't call you crazy for saying that.
It's
It's
not
not
crazy. I
crazy.
think I think it'll be tight. I think actually the Phillies will continue this run. Phillies are going to clinch that division spot. And I think it probably ends up being Dodgers, Brewers, Phillies, just what we've seen as of late from the Brew Crew and the Dodgers. Dodgers going on a 6-game winning streak as we record right now. So, we'll see what happens. Definitely curious to see what happens over the last month of the season. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the playoff race. This is where it all gets fun. So, looking forward to see what these teams kind of do down the stretch.
The Cardinals had an 8-run fifth inning that they gave up. I mean, it's the pitching, dude. I knew
it's looking bleak for the
it's
for the
bleak.
Cards, man.
I just don't see it happening. Let's talk football for the first time this year. Let's talk college.
Oh,
football.
I'm so hyped. Been waiting for this for months.
I know. I can't believe the time is here. It is week 0, ladies and gentlemen. We are in college football
week
season.
0.
It gets me giddy. I'm giddy talking about it as my battery saver just came on. So I guess something became unplugged. Hold on. Or just never plugged in at all. So we start with the American Athletic Conference. We have our winners, the title game, the worst and the most surprising. I will just obviously Michael was not able to join us. I'll read what he has. He has the worst team as Charlotte going 1-11. His most surprising team in a positive way is Navy. He is going 10-2. He somehow has Navy going 10-2, and the title game being Memphis and Tulane. And he has the Tigers finishing 11-2 and winning the American. Other than the worst team being Charlotte at 1-11, I don't see it like that at all. Most surprising for me would be Memphis at 8-4 because I do not think this Tigers team is going to perform in the way that a lot of people do. I have them losing to UNLV, Boise State, Navy, and USF. I could also see losses against Tulane, and I think way too many people, especially in the Memphis metro area, are sleeping on this Arkansas State game. Arkansas State does not suck as someone who has played them twice. And Butch Jones has a very solid team over there in Jonesboro, Arkansas. If they lose that Arkansas State game, and I'll make the statement on the pod right now, they will start 0-3, and this team will unravel internally and not make a bowl game. Their season hinders on this Arkansas State game. The title game for me, I think, is actually so clear-cut. It's USF against Texas San Antonio.
I wouldn't say that's the matchup I had that was clear cut, but we'll get to
I see this as clear. I see this as clear cut. I mean, USF, other than Byron Brown and a couple of key athletes on both offense and defense, they have retained a good amount of this core that had USF rolling last year, and they honestly probably brought in a upgrade at head coach, and I believe it's Brian Hartline, the coordinator of Ohio State. He brought a lot of the Ohio State dudes that were probably, not second string, third string guys that probably weren't going to see the field much at Ohio State, but that are going to be G5 stars. I think it is shaping up for USF to have an absolute hell of a season. Schedule is favorable too. Their non-cons are FIU, Delaware State, and Bowling Green. Those are 3 very subpar teams. Other than FIU, I think FIU is going to have a solid year, but we'll talk about that in a second. UTSA, man, Jeff Traylor's team always comes to play, and I think they finally get rewarded this year with the conference championship game bid. I have USF, which I will say I have them going 8-4, 8-5 when they lose the conference championship game. I've got USF going 12-1, and we are going to have multiple G5 contenders for the playoff this year. I just want to foreshadow that. I do think lack of strength of schedule will leave USF out of it. I will foreshadow that as well, but we will talk about our playoff picture on Thursday. Chase, how do you see the American going? Because I'm also shocked that is just not how I saw it at all.
I think I still like Tulane. I think Tulane's schedule is very favorable. And East Carolina, I think this is a squad that looks really good going into the season. I'll say internally, I do. Maybe it doesn't go this way, but I do know a player who plays on Rice, kind of talking about them going into the season. They are not really high on this roster.
I mean, I have them going 3-9. Yeah, I have them going 3-9.
Yeah, they're not very high on this roster. So I had Rice going 1-11. I really just did not expect them to be very good. I have Charlotte going 1-11 as well. I think they're both going to just get absolutely manhandled in the American Athletic. But my most surprising team is actually going to be North Texas falling off a cliff and not making a bowl this year. I think they just got absolutely gutted when their coach took the Oklahoma State job. They lost their quarterback and Mestamaker, top running back, just absolutely gutted.
I agree.
I think it's gonna be hard for North Texas to follow up the success that they had last season. And then looking at the top half of the conference, I agree with you. I actually think UTSA is going to be really good. But when you look at UTSA's schedule, I mean, they've got some tough games. Like they've got away at Tulane. They're gonna have to. I mean, they're gonna have to beat USF, and
Not
then
buying
you
Tulane this
have
year, man.
non-cons with Texas and Texas State. I mean, those are all losable games. And then I also think Navy will be solid this season. Navy's got a pretty tough schedule though too. USF, I agree with you. I like Brian Hartline a lot. I think I like a lot of what he's done. But I do think that game against Army, if they lose that one, that is a tricky game. And then just they're gonna have to play East Carolina on the road. They're gonna have to play Tulane last week of the season, which will be tough. I think this USF team could go 12-1 and could be pushing for a bowl game, but they could also end up going 9-3, which is what I have them. My two top teams, I really liked East Carolina going into this season. I think they put together a really good roster. They do have a tough non-conference schedule against Alabama, App State, and Old Dominion. But when you look at down the stretch, they've got they start off pretty easy with Rice, UAB, and unfortunately Memphis. I agree with you. I think Memphis is going to struggle this year. So starting off with that in conference, and then you get Temple heading into a game versus South Florida that they probably lose. But if you look down the rest of the stretch, they have Charlotte, Army, and FAU. So they have a really favorable schedule, I think, to do well. And then looking at Tulane's schedule, outside the Duke and Kansas State games, I mean, they've got all their tough games essentially at home minus the USF game, which I think that they will go in and shock some people in typical Tulane fashion. I know they don't have Summerall, but I still am high on this Tulane program. So I've got Tulane facing off against ECU in the title game where I have Tulane winning and going 11-2 and contending for a bid, but I don't think that they're going to get my G5 playoff bid, and I'll get to it in our next conference.
Just to keep it
Just to keep it
well, you said it's just me and you.
or you said
I
just me
will
and you.
list the
I will
first off. I can hear myself in the background. I will list the records I had just so people know inside my mind. I had USF going 11-1, 7-1 in the conference. I had UTSA going 8-4, 6-2 in the conference. I had Navy, which is technically 8-3 and 6-2 in the conference because that Army game does not count towards their conference play. I think they will win the Army game, Navy game. I have them going 9-3. I have Memphis going 8-4, 6-2. Tulane, I have 7-5, 5-3. I'm not bullish on this Tulane team like you are. I think they lost a lot when Summerall left.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the hire internally with Will Hall. I have North Texas barely making a bowl game. I've got them going 6-6. I think Tulsa's a team that's actually going to put something together this year. I've got them going 6-6 as well. Army going 6-6. I am, and I guess I'll pick your brain on it after this in a second. I'm just confused on the ECU thing. I've gone 5-7. I've heard a lot of things out of this ECU camp that they're dealing with a lot of injuries and that they are not very bullish on this team at all. And so I have factored that in and have them going 5-7. I think they have a really tough schedule as well. I think FAU goes 4-8. This is a team though that I wanted to have better, but the schedule is just really tough. I kind of like what FAU is doing. I can totally see them making a bowl game. And then we got the shitters. I've got Temple at 4-8, Rice at 3-9, UAB at 3-9, and Charlotte at 1-11. How did you see the American fully play out?
I actually disagree with you. I know you're not big on Tulane or ECU, but the reason I really like Tulane going into the season, they have Zion Chris. I don't know if you remember him from U of H, right? Super athletic, dynamic, dual threat quarterback. I know he hasn't really made it work, but I think at a G5 level, he can be pretty successful. I think ECU. I really like their transfer portal class, and a lot of a lot of people kind of agree with me that this is going to be a 9-3, 10-2, 10-2 team. You know what I mean? I'll get there. We go. And then I've got Navy 9-3, 7-1 in the conference. Oh, I forgot to mention the other two records. So I have Tulane 10-2, 8-0 in conference. ECU 10-2, 7-1 in conference. Navy 9-3, 7-1 in conference. UTSA going 8-4, 6-2 in conference. I've got Army 9-3, 5-3 in conference. I've got USF going 9-3, 5-3 in conference. And I agree with you. USF could be a team to boom or bust. I'm a little bullish sometimes on coordinator hires. I know that's how you have to do it, but sometimes at these G5 programs, if you don't have a head coach that has been a head coach, it's hard for them to really succeed in year one. Then I had, we'll get to the rest of it. I had Tulsa 6-6, 4-4 in conference. North Texas 5-7, 4-4 in conference. Memphis 6-6, 4-4 in conference.
Oh,
Temple
Memphis
6-6.
Okay.
Yes,
I
and
mean,
we can
same
we
train
can
of
go through
thought.
the schedule.
I mean, I really have the same train of thought. I think I give them 8-4, just give them the benefit of the doubt. I think this is a team that could easily be 4-8, 5-7. Like, I mean, I have no
Well, if you
idea
look
what's
at
going to come
it,
with this Memphis team.
I mean, you look at this, they're losing week one versus UNLV. Ark State could be a loss. I had them winning that. Then week two, technically, because week zero is the UNLV game. Week two, they've got Boise State. Boise State will probably beat them. Then you get UT Martin. That's going to be a win for Memphis, but shout out Max Zuluaga. Then, Charlotte, they'll beat Charlotte. I think they beat UAB, but then you got Tulane, East Carolina, Army, USF, Navy, Temple. So I think they could probably lose Tulane, East Carolina, South Florida, Navy. I mean, this could go really bad for Memphis. But I have Temple 6-6, 3-5 in conference, FAU 5-7, 2-6 in conference, UAB 3-9, 1-7 in conference, and I have both Charlotte and Rice having terrible seasons, both going 1-11 and 0-8 in conference.
We disagree on some of the top teams, but I think across the board we are decently in consensus of how a lot of these teams play out. Conference USA. Who doesn't love a little midweek Kusa? My most surprising team is Florida International. I think they are going to take a step up this year and go bowling and go 6-6. Michael's most surprising is New Mexico State. He hasn't been going bowling in 6-6. Not a lot of people are very not high on New Mexico State. The worst is 1-11 Middle Tennessee State. I agree with him. I think Middle Tennessee is clear cut the worst team in this league. I also have him going 1-11. His conference championship game is Liberty and Kennesaw State, and he's got Liberty going 11-2. I wholeheartedly disagree on the thoughts about Liberty, but I'll go into my title game. I've got it Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State. I'm just bullish on this Kennesaw State team, Chase. I've got them going 10-3. I think they're building a hell of a program over there outside of Atlanta.
I agree.
How do you see the Coosa going?
Well, kind of the same as you. I still like Western Kentucky, and one of my teammates from HCU is playing his last year there. It's supposed to be a big time offensive lineman for them. Kind of got some insight into Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's always pretty solid in the CUSA. I think that they have a very favorable schedule and should be able to compete very well. But I agree with you. I think Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State are not going anywhere. They're going to stay at the top of the pack. So actually, I do have a Western Kentucky Kennesaw State title game, but I've got Jacksonville State right behind them. The worst, I actually think it's New Mexico State just based on the schedule they have to play. I think Middle Tennessee is going to be just as bad, but I think New Mexico State has one of the toughest schedules in the league, which makes them finish lower, even though their team might be a little bit more talented than Middle Tennessee. My most surprising actually is going to be Delaware coming off the season that they had last year. I think that they are going to be bowl eligible. I think they're going to go 7-5 and be pretty solid in this conference.
I agree. I have Delaware.
You want to go through the?
Yeah, of course. I'm bullish on Delaware as well, as I'll get into it right now. I've got Kennesaw going 9-3, 7-1 in the conference. Jack State 10-2, 7-1 in the conference. Obviously, Kennesaw wins, goes 10-3. Jacksonville State 10-3 as well. I've got Delaware going 7-5, 6-2 in the conference. They returned a ton of starters, and I am very big on this Blue Hens team. I've got WKU going 8-4, 6-2 in the conference. Liberty 7-5, 4-4. I've got New Mexico State. I think they're a little bit better than people are giving them credit for, and they also
agreed.
They seem to win games at home. So I guess it's a tougher place to travel. So I've got them 5-7, 4-4 in the conference. Florida International 6-6, 3-5. Missouri State's going to struggle this year with Locklear at the helm. I've got them going 3-8, 3-9, 2-6. I don't think we're giving enough credit to Sam Houston State about how shit they're going to be. I think they're going to go 2-10 and 1-7. And I've got Middle Tennessee State. I win in a conference game 1-11, 0-8. How do you see the CUSA in full?
I've got Western Kentucky 9-3, 7-1 in conference. I've got Kennesaw 8-4, 6-2 in conference. I've got Delaware 7-5, 6-2 in conference. I've got Liberty 9-3, 6-2 in conference. I've got Jacksonville State going 8-4, 5-3 in conference. Missouri State going 4-4, 5-7 in overall, 4-4 in conference. I've got FIU going 4-8, 3-5 in conference. I've got Sam Houston going 3-9, 2-6 in conference. I've got Middle Tennessee winning one game, and I'll explain it when we get to New Mexico State's schedule because I know there's a little consensus there. I've got Middle Tennessee going 2-9, 1-7 in Conference USA, and then I've got New Mexico State going 1-11, 0-8 in CUSA. When looking at New Mexico State's schedule, they're going to lose to Florida State week 1. They'll win against their G5, I mean their FCS opponent. Then they've got Hawaii, New Mexico, which I think those are both losses. Then you look at Western Kentucky's coming in, will beat them. Then they have to travel across the country to FIU, which I think is going to be a real tough game. Probably not one that they're winning. That's a hard travel, though,
And
Will.
I know I said they played well at home. I don't think I have them winning a home game. I do against Mercyhurst.
Yeah.
They get some
Mercyhurst, exactly. That's their. I mean, they've got some tough draws. Like that's a tough travel to FIU, tough travel to Sam Houston.
I disagree about
it's hard to
play Sam Houston. I mean, I think Sam Houston.
It's a tough travel to Sam Houston. You must not have been to Hunts Vegas. You haven't been to Hunts Vegas yet.
Chase, I think they're going to be so bad. It's like.
Yeah, I mean, New Mexico State, I think, is going to be just as bad too. But you look at Jacksonville State, Liberty. I think both of those teams will roll into Las Cruces and win. Missouri State at home probably will get the win against New Mexico State. And then I think Delaware goes in and beats New Mexico State. And I do think Middle Tennessee will win at home. And the reason I say this is New Mexico State in theory, has all their toughest games at home, but I don't think they're a team that can beat these tough teams. And they're all winnable games are on the road, which I think makes it really tough it's really hard to find wins in this schedule. So now I don't think this roster is the worst in Conference USA. I do think that their schedule just is very disadvantageous for them.
That's fair. I see your point. However, who knows what'll happen on a Wednesday or Tuesday night. Let's go to the action.
In Huntsville, Texas.
It ain't happening, brother. I'll put some coin on it right now with you that New Mexico State is going to beat Sam Houston. Maction, baby. We're in agreement here about how good one of these teams is going to be. I think they're a little bit better than you do. Michael has Toledo as his most surprising team going 8-4. The worst, I am close to agreeing with. He has Sacramento State going 1-11. The title game, he has Miami, Ohio, and Central Michigan, and he has the Red Hawks going 10-3 and winning the MAC. Look, Ball State, forgot his name, dude. It's like a 6'2", 250-pound quarterback. I am sold on Ball State. They're going to go 8-4. It completely sold me. UMass is perennially the worst everywhere, so I have them going 2-10. I've got the title game as Ball State, West Michigan. I think West Michigan is the clear-cut best team in the MAC, and I have them going 10-3 after they win the title game, and they are eventually the MAC winners. How do you see the MAC?
I actually like this Toledo squad a lot. I have them going 8-4 in conference, but beating Western Michigan in the most MAC fashion in the title game. I love this Western Michigan team going into the season, so I have them going 9-3 in the regular season. And like I think we see it the same through the regular season. We probably have the games picked the same, so they're my most surprising team as well. And then the worst team, I think it's going to be UMass. There's no question about it. I just don't see a lot of wins for the Minutemen on this schedule.
No, I don't see it at all. We're going to go to the MAC now in full. I've got West Michigan 9-3, 7-1 in the conference. I've got Ball going 8-4, 7-1 in the conference. Miami, Ohio, I'm also bullish on 7-5, 6-2 in the conference, and this is where it just gets thick in the MAC. I've got 6-6 Ohio going 5-3 in the conference. Eastern Michigan 7-5 going 5-3 in the conference. Toledo, a good team, 7-5 going 5-3 in the conference. I've got Buffalo going 7-5, 5-3 in the conference, and I think there's a massive drop off when we get to 8th. I think Bowling Green's actually be atrocious this year, but not atrocious enough to be, there would be 4-8, 3-5 in the conference. I've got Sacramento State winning 4 games, 3-5 in the conference, because I do think this bottom half is going to be the worst. I think Kent State goes 3-9, 2-6. I think Central Michigan goes 4-8, 2-6. I think the Akron Zips go 3-9, 2-6, and I have UMass losing all 8 of their MAC games and going 2-10 with their 2 wins. And I believe, if I remember this correctly, yes, are against FCS opponents. So how do you see the MAC going?
I've got Western Michigan going 9-3 and 7-1 like you. I have actually Toledo going 7-5, but 6-2 in conference. I like their conference schedule a lot for the Rockets. I think Buffalo will be solid. Buffalo will go 8-4, 5-3 in the conference. Miami, Ohio, 7-5, 5-3 in the conference. I've got Akron going 6-6, carrying over some momentum from last year, going 5-3 in the conference.
Okay.
I like Sac State. I'll tell you why. I think that they are going to win a lot of home games, and I think that's going to help them in
It
the
is a tough
MAC.
travel out there. Yes, it is.
It is a tough travel out there. They get an FCS opponent early. They get UMass, North Dakota State out there, Ohio, Kent State, Toledo. Like those are winnable games out
Did you
there
say North Dakota State's
in
winnable?
California. Yes, I think that's winnable for them.
Oh my
They're
God.
they're both
We can
they're both
disagree on that.
FCS teams. North Dakota State's traveling, and I know on paper North Dakota State has been historically better, but I think North Dakota State's gonna have a tough time in the Mountain West this
Just
year.
wait
And I
till you
think
see my Mountain West predictions.
I'm sure you have North Dakota State winning the Mountain West. I think it's a little too soon. It's a big jump, man. Like you know the difference between FCS and FBS football, and North Dakota State has not been the powerhouse over the last 5 years that it was in the previous five prior to that. But
Yeah, keep
anyways,
going.
we'll
I'm
get to that here in
sorry.
a
Yeah.
second. I've got Central Michigan going 6-6, 4-4 in the conference. I agree with you. Bowling Green's going to go 4-8, but 4-4 in the conference. I still see them winning some games. Ohio's going to go 5-7, 3-5 in the conference. Eastern Michigan 5-7, 3-5 in the conference. Kent is going to go 3-9, 2-6. I'm out on Ball State. I'm not a big fan of them. I got them going 3-9, 2-6 in the conference, and then UMass is going to go 3-9 and 1-7 in the conference. And you may ask who that one win I had them against. It was Eastern Michigan at home. So that one could probably flip in Eastern Michigan's favor. But I've got them beating their other two FCS opponents. But I think UMass is going to really struggle this year.
All right, speaking of the Mountain West, let's just get right into it.
Let's go straight to it.
Michael agrees with me. He has most surprising as North Dakota State going 9-3. I guess I forgot to fill that out. Just my most surprising. I know it by heart. I know who it is. But sorry for the graphic wise. Breather. All right. Michael has North Dakota State going 9-3. He has UTEP being the worst at 1-11. I disagree, but I don't. Title game, he has UNLV Hawaii, which would be an absolute movie, and he has UNLV going 11-2, winning the conference. I've got the most surprising team being Hawaii going eight. Oh, excuse me, New Mexico going 9-3. I changed the record. I did not put the logo in it. I think this New Mexico team led by Coach Eck is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think they just finished one game short in third in the Mountain West. I have the worst is Wyoming. I'm hearing things about this Wyoming team that makes me want to fade them in every game. So I'm
Yep.
going to go 2-10 on them. The title game, I have it as North Dakota State and UNLV, and I've got North Dakota State going 11-2, Chase, and here is why. North Dakota State is 9-5 all time against FBS opponents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 9 wins are against Power 4 teams. Just like we saw with James Madison, success isn't an accident. I don't care. There are levels to the FCS. North Dakota State is at that top level. The Mountain West is not that far off from that top level of the FCS. If and you can, I just want to let you look me straight in the face. If we are
I'm
looking
looking you
at
straight in the face,
we are
man.
looking at the schedule and we're like, all right, we're making the picks for the week based, like who are we going to bet on, whatever. And North Dakota State is playing, and you see what I'm getting at. North Dakota State's playing Jacksonville State. Oh fuck, North Dakota State's probably gonna win that game. That's gonna be an FCS over FBS upset.
I
Oh,
disagree with that. I
they're
think
playing.
Jacksonville State's better than North
They're
Dakota
playing
State.
It's going to North Dakota State though. You gotta remember they're going to the Fargo Dome.
I
Um,
understand that. I still like
and
Jacksonville
by the
State
way,
though. It's
all those games that they've won against FBS teams have been on the road. Teams are going to the Fargo Dome now. Air Force. You see match of Air Force and North Dakota. Yeah, North Dakota State's gonna win that game. Sacramento State was terrible in the FCS. They are going to be terrible outside the FCS. North Dakota State wins that game. Wyoming, they win that game. I think they lose to UNLV. They're going to beat Nevada. Nevada's terrible. I think they lose to New Mexico. I think they'll beat UTEP. I think they'll go on the road and beat Hawaii because Hawaii always drops a game at home that they probably shouldn't. And I do think on paper Hawaii probably should beat North Dakota State. But North Dakota State's going to have a lot of mo going here, and they're going to get the job done. NIU's got to come out to the Fargo Dome. They're going to beat NIU, and I think they beat San Jose State, who you obviously agree is going to be terrible. So not only do I think North Dakota State's going to be good as a product of just their, program being essentially the Alabama of the FCS, um, they have a really good schedule in terms of setting themselves up for success this season. So that's my pitch on North Dakota State. How do you see the Mountain West?
I think this is a one-legged race or one horse race for this conference. I love UNLV in the Mountain West this year. I think Dan Mullen's got something good going out there, and this is a really, really easy conference to win, especially with the roster that they have out there. So I've got UNLV actually pretty much dominating the conference. They don't lose a conference game. They go 12-1, and they're actually my pick to make the playoff from G5. Shockingly enough, even though that their strength of schedule won't be great, I think that they'll compete, and they'll have some big time wins, and they're going to absolutely dominate the Mountain West. I think Hawaii's the other team. Me and Mikey see it the same way. I think I like Hawaii a lot in the Mountain West too. The travel to Hawaii is going to suck for a lot of these teams, and I like the Rainbow Warriors at home. I think San Jose State absolutely got shafted having to go play at UTEP, or else I would have UTEP bottom team in the conference. I do not like. I know you're looking out for your boy Scotty Waldron,
I'm
but
not, yeah,
man,
brother. I've got them going 3-9. I mean, like this isn't like
oh
too
well, I
different.
mean,
I
it's
mean,
not much better than what I
yeah,
have them going to. So, it's going to be tough for UTEP this season. But I agree with you. Like, I don't think North Dakota State's going to be bad. But we'll get to my rankings. So I've got UNLV going 11-1, 8-0 in conference. I've got Hawaii going 8-4, 6-2 in conference. I've got UNM, which is a team I think people are doubting a little bit. You don't hear a lot of talk about the Lobos, but I like the Lobos in this conference. I've got the Lobos going 9-3, 6-2. I've got Wyoming going 6-6. I kind of agree with you. Not going to be the best season, but I still think they're bowl eligible just based off their schedule. Got them going 5-3 in conference. Air Force going 6-6, 5-3 in conference. I've got North Dakota State going 6-6, 4-4 in conference. NIU going 3-9, 2-6 in conference. Nevada going 3-9, 2-6 in conference. I've got UTEP going 2-10, 1-7 in conference, and I've got San Jose State going 2-11, 1-7 in conference. And if we want to look at, we'll do the same thing because I think North Dakota State's the big X factor. They could be the best team in the conference, or they could really struggle. When I'm looking at the schedule, like you said, I'm biasly picking. I think that they lose to Jacksonville State, who Jacksonville State was just the Conference USA champion coming into week 0 of the season. I think Jacksonville State wins that. They'll beat Fordham. Air Force is a tricky one, and I think the Sac State travel, both of those games are toss-ups for me just because of where they have to go play. I think Colorado Springs is a tough place to play. Air Force is always a tricky opponent, and then Sac State, I don't know. We'll have to see. Both those games are toss-ups for me. I do think they beat Wyoming. They'll lose to UNLV. They'll beat Nevada. Tough game versus at New Mexico. They'll beat UTEP. Tough game versus Hawaii, and then they'll win their last two versus NIU and San Jose State. So this is easily a team that could easily be 8-4, but also the team that could end up being 6-6, which is what I think they'll be in their first year. Now, give them 2-3 years, I think they'll be in competition to win the Mountain West. But it's hard to win year one. But we also have seen teams like James Madison do it, so we'll have to see what happens.
I have UNLV going 11-1, 7-1 in conference. I think they dropped that one conference game to Hawaii. I think that is a really tough back. I think the Memphis game will be tough for UNLV because I think both teams will be pretty juiced and it's going to be a hard fought week 0 game. I think UNLV does win and cover. But I think going to Hawaii the week after is a really tough draw for your first conference game. I've got North Dakota State going 10-2, 6-2. I'm with you. New Mexico is a team I'm very bullish on. I've got them going 9-3, 6-2. I've got Hawaii going 8-4, 6-2. So we're really tight there for the second spot.
We're seeing the same thing minus North Dakota State.
Yeah, I just had the tiebreaker goes to North Dakota State according to this. I've got NIU going 6-6, 5-3. I think the travel to NIU will be tough. I think NIU's travel out will be tough. I've got San Jose State going 4-9, 3-5 in the conference. I'm not bullish on this Air Force team at all. I've got them going 4-8, 2-6 in the conference. I've got UTEP going 3-9, 2-6, Nevada 3-9, 2-6, and Wyoming 2-10, 1-7. The newest G6 conference, if you may, is the Pac-12. I refuse to call them a Power 5 conference. They're not. They are absolutely a G6 conference. Michael has it as most surprising being Oregon State going 8-4. The worst being Colorado State going 2-10. His title game is Boise State and San Diego State, and he has Boise State going 12-1 and winning the Pac-12. My most surprising team is in a bad way. I think Washington State's going to really struggle this year. They had a mass exodus, and I think it's going to be really tough for the Cougars. I think they go 4-8. The worst team in my mind is Colorado State. I think they go 3-9. Title game is going to be a classic Mountain West title game, and I think I'm very bullish on both these teams, Boise State and Fresno State. And I do think Boise State will win and be 11-2. Chase, how do you see the Mountain West?
I kind of see it the same way you do. I think we got Boise State going 11-2. The only difference between San Diego State and Fresno State was San Diego State in my bracket had the tiebreaker, so that's how they made it in over Fresno State with the same record. Colorado State's going to really struggle, but I actually like GK Kenny's Texas State Bobcats. I think they're going to be solid this year, and I miswrote it on the graphic. It's actually 7-4, not 8-4.
I fixed it for you as I, disclaimer in the group chat. I wanted y'all to predict they play a final game against like the team next to them. So 1 plays 2, 3 plays 4.
Okay.
If you were doing them as a most surprising in a positive way, I fixed it in a positive way. If you were doing it in a worse way,
I see.
Okay,
that makes sense.
You did not mess up.
So they are playing an extra game. Okay,
yes,
that makes sense.
They are playing a 12th game.
I like this Texas State roster. I think GK Kenny's got a really good team put together. They're bringing back their quarterback. Oh, what's his name? It's like Bo Jackson or something. Not Bo Jackson. It's like Bo Johnson, something like that. But he started for them last year as a true freshman and actually threw for a lot of yards in the Sun Belt. Coming back for you too, they still have Bo Sparks, who's one of the best slot receivers in the country. So I do like this Texas State Bobcats team to make a little noise. I do think Boise State is head and shoulders clear of the conference, though. So I got Boise State going 9-2, 6-1 in conference. San Diego State going 8-3, 5-2 in conference. Fresno State going 8-3, 5-2 in conference. Texas State going 7-4, 4-3 in conference. Washington State going 5-6, 4-3 in conference. Oregon State going 5-6, 3-4 in conference. And I've got Utah State going 2-9, 1-6 in conference. And Colorado State going 2-9, 0-7 in conference. The only loss I really see for Boise State on the schedule, I think, is playing at Fresno State. I think that they win out the rest of the regular season. And when we're looking at San Diego State, I think San Diego State could drop a game on the road to like an Oregon State, or maybe they lose to Fresno State or one of those. I do think that JMU game will be tough for them as well. But I really think this is Boise State's conference to lose. They should win it, and they should be in competition for the P6 final spot to get into the college football playoff.
All right, and this is how I understand it. So I will walk you through exactly how I reached Fresno State into my conference championship game, and it is because San Diego State gets screwed by this system by the Pac-12, which is designed to get a better strength of schedule. So I have Boise State, who goes 10-2, 7-1 in the conference because in their final game they beat the second place team at the time, San Diego State, who is now 7-5.
Which they would play back to back.
Who is now 7-5, 4-4. I have Fresno State being second in the conference after they beat third place team Texas State. So I have Fresno State being 8-4, 5-3. Then I have Texas State and San Diego State being tied for third and fourth, 7-5, 4-4. I have Utah State going 6-6 after they beat sixth place team Washington State. So they would be 6-6, 5-3. Washington State would fall to 4-8, 3-5. I have Oregon State going 5-7, 3-5 after they beat Colorado State, who then falls to 3-9, 1-7. So yes, on paper, before that final game, I had Boise State, San Diego State as my conference championship game. I then did the matchups, predicted those games, and then I came up with Fresno State, Boise State as the title
have to see how it goes,
game.
But I agree with you. I think the way that the math lines up, it would make sense that Fresno State would get that matchup against Boise State.
So here's the thing, Mountain West teams, if you were somehow listening, finish third or fourth. Do not finish second, because you are guaranteeing yourself a Week 12 loss. Finally, we got the fun belt, and I felt we would be in consensus. And are we always on this podcast in consensus about who is going to win the Sun Belt? Let's talk about Big Mike. He said the most surprising team is Arkansas State. We've been saying it. We don't sleep on the Red Wolves this year. He has them going 8-4. I don't quite have it that. I think they've got a really tough Sun Belt schedule. I disagree with the
I agree.
worst. He has La Tech going 3-9. I don't see it like that at all. He has Troy playing JMU in the title game, and he has the Trojans of Troy going 11-2 and winning the Sun Belt Conference. I am big on Troy this year, and not just because of the alma
Me
mater
too.
factor.
When you look at the schedule,
When you look at the schedule and you look at the roster, I am big on Troy this year. My most surprising team is Marshall. I think they're going to have a really good year with Del Rio at the helm. I've got them going 8-4. The worst for me is ULM, a perennial Sun Belt bottom feeder. I'm going 2-10. I think the title game is actually pretty clear cut. I think the two best teams in this conference are Troy and Old Dominion when it comes to the East and the West. And then I have Troy winning it all, going 12-1. I'll go ahead and tell you the only game I have them losing to is Missouri. If they beat Missouri, you will see an undefeated Troy team. I do have Troy as my G5 representative. I think the loss to Missouri will be, I mean, as it is kind of always for Troy, it'll be like a 1 or 1.5 possession game. And I think Troy will get enough to get the bump. Chase, how do you see it?
well, we see it the same. I've actually got Troy going 11-2. Old Dominion is a team I'm super high on. I think they go 10-2 in conference. They have a pretty easy schedule, but I think Troy got such a great schedule this year. When you look at it, minus I think they have two really tough games on the schedule, but I think every other game is winnable for them. I don't like Monroe's roster this year. I think UL Monroe's gonna struggle, so we see it that way. But looking at the conference, I've got Troy going 10-2, 7-1. They'll beat Sam Houston. They'll beat Alabama State. I think they lose to Missouri close. They'll beat Utah State, beat Southern Miss, beat Lafayette, beat Monroe. I think the Thursday night game, they've struggled with James Madison in the past. I think James Madison wins that one at home. Then I've got him beating La Tech, South Alabama, Georgia Southern, Arkansas State, and then winning that Sun Belt title game.
And Chase,
ODU, I think,
I don't
just
want
has
to
a
cut you off real quick. Are you about to go down the entire standings?
yeah.
Yeah. So let me just so you can mentally do this real quick, because I know Playoff Predictor does not do it for you. The Sun Belt does still have divisions, so I have written down
Yes.
what they would finish in each division. Do you have that prepared?
Troy would still finish first, yes. I
Okay.
have Troy at
Yeah,
5 and
I
0 in
figured you
that
could free
division.
ball it. So anyway, go ahead
Yep.
now.
Well, I have Troy finishing first in their division. I have Old Dominion finishing first in their division because ODU will go 5-1 in their division and should finish, and they have the tiebreaker over James Madison to make it in ahead of them. I like this ODU team. I think that they, outside of the tough non-con games against East Carolina and Virginia Tech, I think that they should run through the Sun Belt pretty easily. Following that, I think JMU regresses a little bit after losing their coach to UCLA. I think Lafayette will have a bounce back year this year and be pretty good at 9-3, 6-2 in conference. Georgia Southern 6-6, 5-3. I like Marshall again. I think Marshall goes 8-4 as well. I've got them going 5-3 in conference, 8-4 overall. App State going 6-6, 4-4 in conference. Ark State, while I do think they're better, I do think they go 5-7, 3-5. Same with South Alabama. I've got La Tech going 4-8, 3-5. Georgia State going 3-9, 1-7. Coastal Carolina going 3-9, 1-7. And I got Monroe going 1-11 and 0-8 in the league.
Yeah, decently similar. Starting with the West, I've got Troy being 11-1, 8-0 in the conference. Second in the West would be La Tech, 6-6, 5-3. Then Lafayette, 7-5, 4-4. Ark State would be fourth, 6-6, 4-4. USA, 6-6, 4-4, and then bringing up the rear in the West are Southern Miss at 3-9, 2-6, Monroe 2-10, 0-8. In the East, I have Old Dominion winning it on a tiebreaker over JMU 9-3, 6-2, JMU 9-3, 6-2. I've got Marshall finishing third, 8-4, 5-3. I have Georgia Southern in fourth at 5-7, 4-4. App State 6-6, 3-5. Coastal 5-7, 3-5, and then Georgia State again having a poor year, 4-8, 2-6. All right, Chase. Take a deep breath until we do the
Great
Big Four
episode.
on Thursday. Best things that happened this weekend: the EPL is back, baby. Loved waking up on Sunday and watching my team play. I watched a lot of the games this weekend. It's just a very good level of football that I missed, especially after the World Cup and especially after watching the MLS. I went out with the L1s on Friday. That was the best thing that happened this weekend. That was fun. We went and explored downtown Memphis, and then the dudes are good. The dudes are cool over at the law school. And then RoboCop, dude. I'm a big fan of Gregory Rodriguez when it comes to UFC. He beat the hell out of Fluffy Hernandez in his hometown while getting booed the entire time, and he looks like RoboCop. So RoboCop was the third best thing that happened this weekend. Chase, what happened this weekend?
Fernando Tatis Jr. won National League Player of the Week. I think he slashed like 460, 4 bombs, still a couple bags. I mean, he's on fire right now for the Padres and could not be at a better time. This is my favorite athlete across any sport. My sister, like, we like him so much. My sister made me a painting of him a couple of years ago. That's been hanging in my apartment everywhere I've lived. And then he's just been doing great. So I love that Tatis bounced back. Carlos Baleba just signed to the Red Devils today, officially got announced, which I think he's going to be a big player for us. And then, of course, Footy's back. Really excited about it. It's going to be a great season. Really looking forward to it. Got to watch a bunch of good games. I enjoyed watching Bayern Munich versus Dortmund, Real Madrid versus Espanyol. Getting to see Barcelona in their first game absolutely dismantle. I think it was something Oviedo or something like that. It's just been a lot of storylines, a lot of drama. Last week of the transfer week, it's just great to have sports back. Really missed it. August was a
Football is
rough month
back
for me.
this week,
It's
baby.
back this week. I'm so ready to just have something to do on Saturdays and Sundays
Facts.
again.
Facts. Well, that'll do it for episode 84 of Sunday Sports. This has been Will and Chase. Until Thursday, hopefully we'll have the producer and Luke on the pod to break down the heavy hitters, the P4s, and our playoff predictions. But until then, have a good night.